Just like smoke, just like wind, you escape to the big machine. I don't like what I see. Why don't you wanna dance with me? At the end of the day, I will catch you anyway. In this world, nothing's real. All you see just happens in your head, just like a dream. A very long night, don't get me wrong this time, I'm here for you. For you.
Hello everybody, this is Robert Gordon and I'm from Selma, Alabama, famous Selma, Alabama. This will be called the gold medal story, plus there was money involved too.
You can fight, but you can't win, 'cause you belong to the big machine. In this world, nothing's real.
Well, we have to kind of go back a ways on this, and this is about Don Coley in Marion, Alabama, and how he created an artist. Don, I'm sure none of y'all know who Mose T is, famous artist in Montgomery, a black guy. Don was a carny. You have to understand all this stuff. This story could go on and on and on about Don, but he was an old carny, and he had carny ways too. He found out about Mose T, the black guy that did these primitive paintings, and everybody was wild about him because he, was a black artist that painted from his heart and all this stuff, and on and on and on. I mean, another con job probably. Well, Mose T ended up having his whole family painting them, nieces, cousins, and got exposed to be he got found out. But Don had Ernie, and Ernie would come to school in 3rd and 4th grade dead drunk. And Ernie's daddy had murdered 2 black guys, and he ended up dying in the hospital for the criminally insane. If it wasn't for Don hiring Ernie would have been in some kind of state institution. And Don said he always was helping him, but he was using him too. Don and Earnest, they had a strange relationship, because Earnest would always talk about his fantasy was to dig a big hole, put dynamite in it, and somehow make Don sit on it, and then blow him sky high. And Don would start cussing Earnest. Ernie would cuss Don. But Ernie thought about it all the time, because he would tell me about it. So what you have to understand about Earnest is that he would sneak off and go down this place below the old mansion where Don lived. It was called the Negro Bottom. There's a lot of prostitutes, and I was just a few blocks away. Rows of shanties, and Earnest would get drunk. Don couldn't find him, and Don had Ernie cutting the grass. He was supposed to have painted that day, and then he was supposed to cut the grass, and so Don goes in to take a little nap. Ernie starts the mower. And then Ernie tied a rag around the mower, that little thing you grab. He tied a rag around it, and Don went on to sleep, and the mower's going. And then an hour later, he hears it cut off, never heard it cut back on. And he goes outside, and Earnest had tricked him and gone down to the Negro Bottom. And Don waited on Ernie. He waited and waited. And in front of Don's house, there's a steep bank that goes down to the road. So Don waited on Ernie, and pretty soon here comes Ernie up the road, drunk, crawling, stinking, just a mess. And Don's standing up on top of this high bank, and he goes, "Get your ass up here." And Ernie starts crawling up the bank, and Don's standing up there with his combat boots. He had a lot of combat boots, which he used for a lot of purposes. Ernie starts crawling up the bank, gets up there on the top, and Don starts stomping on his poor little hands, and he falls down, lands out down in the road, and he does that a couple of times. And he goes, he got up the third time, and I was so worried about ruining my artist's fingers that I pulled him back on up. Don had a remedy for when Ernest wouldn't bathe and they had to really go somewhere, somebody's house. He would throw him in. Don had a big bathtub buried in the yard, and he would throw Ernie in there. But Ernie was drunk usually, so it didn't matter that much. And he would take big old scrub brushes, scrub Ernie down, and he had sets of clothes at the house he would dress him in. And that's about all you could do with him. So he told Ernie he was going to have to paint. He goes to Walmart, good old Walmart, buys Ernie all these paints and brushes and whatever else you need. I don't know if you saw the chain in this on this tree, but this all actually happened. I mean, it really happened. You got to understand, this is not the liberal North or even the liberal South. This is just how it is. And Ernie didn't know how to paint, so Don took a rope and tied it around Ernie and tied it to the chain and set him out in the back up in these little woods and made him paint. He's not really chained. He's just got a rope around him, which he could easily get off. And pretty soon, Ernie got pretty good. He really did get pretty good. And his paintings were selling, they were like $15. Then they went up to $30. Then he went up to like $75 and $100, then $200. Then this woman from California found out about them, and she bought 18 of them, and took them back to California at $3.50 a piece. And they were in the money then. That is no kidding. I remember this. Every year in Selma, they have an art show here. And artists will be looking at this, and the artists over here are mean and jealous, and but y'all know how you are. It's true, Bill. That's how they are. They're all hateful and backstabbing, and not like antique dealers.